Okay, today we have assignment number 3 for MsAccess, and as stated in your portal on Blackboard, what we have to do is to follow the steps on pages 356 and 367. Okay, so there you go. This is module number 3, 356, and the next page should be 357. 357. There's only 3 steps on the next page, but those are 3 steps that you need to complete as well. Okay, so step number 1 here goes: open the vendor database you created and worked with in previous modules, and then click the enable content button next to the security warning if necessary. I want to pause here because of this step. If you don't do this in this step, you just ignore that message, likely your database, your changes will not be saved. Okay, so if you do have that message, make sure you have that warning, make sure you do click enable content. Okay, now let me open my file here. In my case, I don't have that, but usually when you get that warning, it is a little yellow message at the top here, right below the ribbon. It'll go across the ribbon here, and it will say enable the content. If you don't click that, your files will not be saved. The changes you will make will not be saved. Okay, make sure that when you open the database, you have that message. Do enable content, and let me try to see if that will get that warning here. Vendor, remember this is still the file that we've been using in weeks 1 and 2, well, week 9 and 10 in MsAccess. It's just this review assignment is a continuation of that work. Let me open the database here. I don't have that warning, but if you do have it, just do select enable content. Okay, once you have this, you should see the usual MsAccess database, navigation pane, and so on, right? Now let's see what it's asking us to do. Step number 2 goes: open the supplier table in Datasheet View. Okay, we have our supplier table. I select the supplier table, right click, then design view, and this is this is Datasheet supplier. Okay, no, it's not. It's asking Datasheet View. So Datasheet View is this one, and this is like you are seeing the records of the contents of this file under in the sheet, in the Datasheet View. Like it's meaning as opening your table as if it was a spreadsheet, right? And then change the following field values for the record with the supplier ID HAR912, which is this one. Okay. Now address to 912. Where is address here? Right here. 912 medical drive contact phone 865 555 1226, right, and so on. So you complete the steps here. Say, and what is this? Contact first name. This is contact. Okay, let's just expand this so we can see it. Contact first name to Isabella, and contact last name to Lopez. Okay, and then close the table. And close the table. If you're wondering if it saves or not, it's going to ask you to save it here. You will say yes, and just to make sure the changes were in effect, you can see it here, right? I might not have it might be empty here for me because I didn't follow all the steps. from previous from week number 10, but in your case likely you will see some data here in the company field. Okay, now let's do step number 3. Okay, here, create a query based on the supplier table and include the following fields in the company in the order shown here. Okay, so it's asking us to create a query based on the supplier table and include these fields. Let me see if I can copy this. Okay, Control C. I don't know if this will work though. Let's see, paste it. No, it doesn't work. So let me just then copy here company, then category, and then contact first, contact last, right? May not have to do this, but I'll just copy this here so I don't have to open the phone and see it, right? Okay. Then I'll open MsAccess. What is the table? Table is supplier table, right? Well, we're on step 3. Let me go back to Access. Okay, I'll close this. And I'll create a query, right? Create, and the queries option in the query group, select query design, and you'll have an empty canvas, right? Create a query based on the supplier table. Then you select, if you were not here, just select the tables, the query, the supplier table, and just drag it over to your canvas. Okay. Then you have it on your canvas here, and then just expand it so you can see all the fields. Okay. Once you don't have the vertical bar on the right side, you know that you can see all the fields. Now the fields are company. Okay. You have to use this order as in the order shown. Company. How do you add a field? Just double click on the field. Select the field, double click, and you can tell that you have a new name here. So let's delete this. Let's try it again. Company, double click, and it will show in the grid section down here. Then category, double click again, okay, and it goes to the second available column. Then contact first, and then you once you do that again, the field will be shown on the grid section here. Contact last, okay, and phone. Where is phone here? Phone and city, right? Perfect. So you cannot see it here. Let me close this one if you do have it. You may have it, you may not. Now, sort the query in ascending order based on the category field. Okay, let's do how we do that. Do you see this sort? The third row here, field table sort, states if you want to sort that field, that the final output by that field. In this case, it's asking us to use the category field, and you have to use ascending order. If you click here, you select ascending order by category, and save the query as contact list, and then let's try to close it. When you try to close it, it's going to ask you if you want to save it. In this case, we'll say yes, and in the query, in the save as button window, you do key in contact list, and then you will see that under the queries, then the queries object on the navigation pane, you will see the this new query listed. Let's do OK, and you will see one more option here. Okay, there you go. Your contact list. You just created a query, right? A query, as we talk about, is essentially exactly that, a query. So you are asking something from a table in this case, right? So that's why we use the table as the input for a query. Usually, for the most part, the input for a query will always be either a query or a table itself. Okay, in this case, we're using a table. The next step is step number 4, and let me just close this. I don't want to save this, it was not helpful. Now use the contact list query database. Now let me open the contact list to update the supplier table by changing the phone field value for Killington Medical to whatever this number, right? So I'll look for Killington Medical here, and it's asking me that to change the phone number, right? I change it to, isn't that the same? Oh, it's 762. Right, so this is the contact phone number. It says here 706. It wants us to change it to 762 555 and 9811. That's it. That'll be step number 4. Okay. And let's see what's step number 5. I still need this here. Okay. Okay, change the size of the text in the contact list. In the contact list query, change the size of in the contact list query database, which is this one, to use a 12-point size. Resize columns as necessary. Okay, let's resize this first. 1, 2. That's how you're resizing, right? And then the size of the text in the contact list to use a 12-point font size. The font size, you can see it under the home option in the main menu, then text formatting, and you can change here to 212, right? Okay, it's asking it doesn't matter the type for now, but that's how you change the font size of the entire datasheet view. Okay. Let's see if you keep playing with this. I don't know, let's do 8. You'll see the font size will be smaller. Let's just put it back to 12, which is the requirement, right? We just did step number 5. Let's do now step number 6. Okay, change the alternate row in the contact list query data sheet to the theme color name blue accent 5 lighter 60%. This is somehow similar to what we have on in Excel, right? So you change the alternate row colors. How do you do that? Again, if you're not in the home section, in the home main menu, just click the home. Let's say you might be here. Just go to home, and in the text formatting group, you will find this little icon that goes alternate row color. You click it, and here you have a bunch of options in terms of themes, right? What we are looking for is the theme color named blue accent 5, which I believe is this one. Okay, blue accent 5, lighter 60%. What is this? Lighter 80, lighter 60. This is 60%. And note that the alternate colors in our datasheet view of the query changes to that color, right? So that's what you're expecting. And then save and close the query. I'll just click in here, and then it's the question is, do you want to save the changes? We'll say yes. Okay. Make sure you do the yes, because of if you don't, all your changes will be and will not be saved. Okay. Let me pause. Okay, now what we are doing now is step number 7, which is create a query based on the supplier and product tables. Okay, so let's do first create a query, right? Create, and then we go to the query design here, and we have our empty canvas, right? Based on 2 tables, the supplier and product tables. Under the tables, you should have both those 2 tables are product and supplier. First, you have to drag these tables over to the canvas, and then expand it so you can see all the fields. That's the first one, and then I'll drag and drop again the supplier table, and again do the same operation so you can see all the fields. And you can see here that what I'm doing really doesn't matter in the sense of which table is on which side, but just you can move this around, but that will not have any impact in the output of the query. Okay, so but I prefer to see it first, the supplier and the product, just personal preference. But again, that will not have an impact on the final output of the query. Now select the company, category, and state fields from the supplier table. Company, what else? Category and state. How do you select fields? Select the field, double click, and you will see it in the grid. Category, select the field, double click, you have it down there. And state, select the field, double click, and you have it here. And the product name, price, and units. You need weight and weight fields from the product table. How do you do that? Either you, in this case, what you can do is you can select more than one, right? It's asking for product name. Yeah, it's product name as well. So you select this too. Okay, how do you select them? Just position yourself in product name. Hold on the shift, hold down the shift key, and then arrows down, and you should see that the 4 fields get selected. If you don't have this, you can still keep doing the usual double click, same effect. Okay, so weight, and then you do the weight here, fields from product, sort the queries or the query results in descending order based on price. Okay, so remember the sort is always the third row in the query in the grid. So you click here, you have to do in descending order, right? So descending order, so it wants to show the highest values at the top and so on. Select only those records with a category field of supplies. Okay, now we're doing more filtering. Category field of supplies, right? Where do you set the category, the filters here? Under the criteria row, which is the third, the fourth, the fifth row in the grid. So category, you have to key in here suppliers. Is it supplies? Supplies, okay? Supplies. Supplies, okay? You should see that double quotation marks were added here. It's a little bit hard to see, but you have double quotation marks here, okay? But do not display the category field in the query results, okay? So if you check here the fourth row in the grid, it has the label, the caption show. If you run this query, you are going to see the category field in the query. Let's try it, right? If you run the query, I can see the category field here, right? But the instructions are that do not display the category field values in the query results. So these are the query results. It doesn't want us to show that value. And to hide that or to drop that from the final query, go back to query this to the design view, click here, and you uncheck the category field. Okay, and you will note that even though the filter will be applied, meaning you will still see only products that have supplies in the category field, but the field itself will not be in the output. Okay, and let's see if that's true. And as you can tell, you cannot see, you no longer have that field in the output of the query, right? Save the query as supply products, run the query, and then close it. Okay, so then it's asking me to save it. Usually, what I do is try to close it, and when it asks for to save it, I say yes. And here I'll just key in the value of the supply products, right? Supply products. Okay, and then again you will see one more file under the queries on the navigation pane. Okay, there you go, supply products, which is my latest query. Now let's go step number 8. Again, I'll go to create, because we have to create another query. A query that lists all products that cost more than 50 and are temperature controlled. Display the following fields from the product table in the query results: product ID, product name. Okay. Okay, so it sounds that we only need one table, right, which is the products table. And let's try that, right? So I will just do create query design, and again you have your empty canvas, right? Let's see. It sounds to me that we only need the products here. Okay. Okay. So it shows lists all the products that cost more than 50. Display the following fields. That's the one I wanted to see. Product ID, then product name, right? Price, units, and the last one is trial. Okay, hint: the temp control field is a yes/no field that should not appear in the query results. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I have to show all products that cost more than 50, right? Okay, so how do I do that? I have to add a condition in the criteria portion, right? It cost more than 50. It's just that more than, less than, greater than 50. Okay, and that's how we select the products that cost more than 50 and are temperature control. And that should be, I guess it's this field, right? We have to add it, but the hint goes the temp control is a yes/no field that should not appear in the query, right? Okay, so then we don't want to show it in the query, but we still have to apply the filter, right? We're going to say yes. That are, is it a yes? Yes. That are temperature control, right? So that means if we say yes, we should see only those. Let me see if this works. Okay, there you go. Now we have, these are the products that these are all the columns that we need. We do need product ID, which have product ID, product name, we have product name, price, units, and sterile, right? So and we don't have, even though it's applying the filter temp control, we don't want to show it on in the final output. Okay, note that this temp control is not there in the output. Let's try it again. Temp control, you'll see it's not here, right, in the output of the table or the query. Run the query and then close it. Is it asking me to do? Oh, save the query as high price and temp control. So let's just do the usual, try to close it. And when it's asking us to save it, we'll say yes. And the name would be high price and temp control. And then I'll do OK here. And then you should see that in the queries, you should see this high price and temp control. Otherwise, it means you didn't save your file. Now we have to create another query here. Okay, so then I do again to create on step number 9. I do create a new query that lists information about suppliers who sell equipment on STRL products. Okay, so from the supplier table, yeah. So it's asking us to use the supplier table now. Again, I'll create just an empty canvas here. Query design, the empty canvas here. Create a query that about suppliers who sell equipment on STRL products. Right? So let's just drag and drop the. You can also do double click and it will show. Oh no, that doesn't work. So just have to select this one and drag it over to the canvas and expand this so you can see all the fields. Suppliers who sell equipment on STRL products include the company. It's asking us to do now the fields: company, category, what else? Contact first, then contact last, from the supplier table, and the product name. Okay, there's more. Okay, so and the product price. Okay, so it's asking really to drag the two tables here. So I'll do that. Okay. and then I'll do the usual expansion here, and the product name here, okay, price, temp control, and sterile. Okay, save the query. Is it asking us to apply any condition here? No. Save the query as equipment or sterile. What? Okay, who sell equipment, but how do we know that though? Okay, let's just run this and see how we can get those conditions, right? Who sell equipment? Okay, so how do we get the suppliers who sell equipment? It's labeled in the category, right? So in the if you have the value equipment in the field, in the category field, those are suppliers who sell equipment. And then we have to go back to our query, do cancel here, and go back to view, design, and then in category I'll say I only need the ones who sell equipment, okay? And that's the first part, right? So, and the second piece goes or sterile products, right? So, and in the sterile products, in the last field for the products table, I will say yes, because I only want, as it's stated here, that lists information about suppliers who sell equipment or sterile products, right? So that's what I'm saying. The category equipment, and in the last one, sterile, in the field sterile, I'll select yes. Okay. Is it or? Oh, sorry, but this is or. Okay. So in this case, what I will be saying is that equipment and sterile products, but what I need is or, right? Meaning it's either they sell equipment or sterile products, as opposed to say yes for both. You have to select the next row in the criteria. Under the criteria, you see this criteria, there's an or. That's why you have those fields here, and then key in the yes under that field, and then you run it. Okay, and now you will see that you have all the field, all the suppliers who sell equipment or sterile products. As you can tell, the last field, it's exactly giving us that, right? In this case, for instance, this company, right? This company sells medical equipment here, okay, but they don't do sterile products. But because of they sell equipment, it's being part of our query. Okay. So now, what's the name it's asking us to do? Equipment or save the query as equipment or sterile. Let's just do click here, query, equipment, just equipment, and or sterile. Okay, and then you have that. We have a new query, right? So that's why since this is an assignment in which you create queries, and the queries component under the queries object in your database, you should see all of these new queries that you're creating. Now, step number 10 goes another query. We have to create another query here. So then let's go to create, okay, and then create a query that lists all resale products along with a 10% markup amount based on the price of the product. Okay. Okay. So let's just open a new query then. And my guess is that we need the product table. Okay. So it's step 10, right? All resale products. Okay. Let's just, before we do that, I want to see the fields. Product ID. Okay, if you don't know how to do this, just double click here, right? It'll place the field in the grid, then product name, and then price, right? So if you do it twice, it'll create more the column more than once. So I don't want that, so I'll just delete that. How do you delete? You just select the column in the grid and then delete. But since I need it, I'll just add it, right? Okay, so that list, but let's go back to step number 10, right? Create a query that lists all resale products along with a 10% markup amount based on the price of the product, okay? Include those fields, okay? Save the query as, let's save the query as whatever that name, I'll say yes, and then I'll say resale products with markup, right? Markup, and then do OK. Again, under the queries, under the queries objects in the database, you will see that we will have one more field, one more component, right? Resale. But we haven't. We're now done with that, right? So let's reopen the template. So design view, and then we are back to the canvas, right? Okay. So create a product. Okay. So this is a little bit confusing in the sense of it's giving us instructions all over the place here. We have to calculate the markup field, right? How do I do that? I'll just create a new column in the query, and there are a number of ways you can do this. But essentially, it's telling us, listen, what I need is the price times 10%, right? With a 10% markup. That'll be price times 1.10, right? And how do you do that? We just key in times 1.1. Okay, that's the end of the story. Now, if you do click enter, what will happen is that in the you will have this expr1 as the field, as the column name for that calculation, right? Let's say if we run this here, you'll see that expr1 here, right, in the column, in the heading, right? But the instructions are clear here. It's telling us display the markup amount in a calculated field named markup. So this expr1 is what it's called, the calculated field, because we are using a field, an existing field, which in this case is price, and we are performing a calculation, right? So which is the 10% markup. For instance, for price, 25.1 plus 2.5, 2.5.25, it gives us 28.5, right? 28.05, right? First, and that's a calculation. That's what it's called, a calculated field, right? So it's performing a calculation based on an existing field in the table. But we have to change this value, right? So the heading. Let's go back to our design view, and what you have to do is really replace this expr1 by the markup value, which is stated in the instructions, right? Calculated field name markup, okay? Markup that, okay. And now we do have that, right? So now it's set the caption property to markup. So in the caption property, where is the caption property here? You likely have this property sheet, right, on the right side of your query, right? If you don't have it, I wonder if we can. Let me just close this to see if I can make it. Oh, there you go. So right now I don't see it, right? If you do right click in the canvas and you select the option properties, it will show up here, right? But then the problem is here that we have to change the caption of the markup, right? And then I go here, so I just go to this column, but you have to select that column, right? And in the caption option, what you have to do is to you have to set the caption property to markup, right? Markup. Note the difference is in the uppercase in the U. Does it make a difference? For the calculations it doesn't, but for visualization purposes you will see that it shows that in the final in the query. Okay, so now we just did that. So but if you are wondering how come it's not showing it here, it's because of you're in the price column, right? If you go to the markup, you can see that the caption has been updated, or it's still there. Okay, Now display the query results in descending order by price. Okay, there's something else we have to do here. So you have to select the sorting order now, and to do that you have to select the price column, right? Because the sorting must be performed by the price in descending order. Okay, sort descending. Okay, save and run the query. We already saved it with the name. Okay, save. I want to save it. Try to close it. Usually, that's what I try to do. What I do, there's not really a save the query button. Okay, so you have to try to close it, and it'll ask you if you want to save it. Okay, so then we have now our final query. Sorry, the query in step number 10, right? And when we run the query, you should see the final output. Let's just make it a little bit, expand the column here. And the reason why I have this EXPR 1001 is because the product name is there in a query twice, and I don't want that. So I'll just open the query again, and I'll do design view, and I'll drop the product name, one of them, right? So, and if I go back, it should be okay now. Okay. Okay. So, but the interesting portion here is that the formatting is different, right? So you see the price; it has a decimal, two decimals of formatting, and with the commas and the thousands and so on, right? The markup is a plain number, right? So, and that's exactly what it's trying to change in the step number 11. And the question is, modify the format of markup field in the resale products with markup query so that uses the standard format and two decimal places. Okay, how do we do that? We have to go again to the design view. There are a number of ways you can do that. One of them is that you go to the home button, the main menu. Then you do view, and then you do design view, and it will take you back to the canvas, right? Now, our problem is that in the markup price, we have to change the formatting. Okay, how do we do that? Select that column, the markup column here, right? And in the property sheet, okay, if you don't have this again, let's see, I don't have this property sheet. I don't see the property sheet. Right click here and then do just place your mouse somewhere here, click it, and then do right click, properties, and you should see the property sheet, right? But again, you have to go to the column you want to change the formatting, right? In this case, in the property sheet, you do format, okay? And here it's asking us to select standard formatting, right? Standard, but it's also asking us to do, I believe, decimals, right? So it uses the standard for and two decimal places. Decimal places are right here, so you have to select two, or just select or key in two. That really doesn't matter. So, and is there something else? So, run the query, resize all columns in the best fit, and then save it and close the query. That's it. So let's run the query now, and you'll see the effect that it had once we did that, right? So now you see that the markup has a better formatting for the matter. So 13, it's the same formatting as in price, okay, which has standard and two decimals. Okay, let's do now step number, and please save the query. Save the query, right? Step number 12 goes. Oh, let me just see if this is working. Okay, now what we are doing now is step number 12, and step number 12 again goes to create a query. But in this case, what we're doing is we're calculating the lowest, highest, and average prices for all products using the those field names, right? Set the caption property for each field. Yeah, we have to change the caption, and then we have to praise it. We have to save it with that price statistics name. Okay, let's start. So I guess it doesn't state that here, but my guess is that we have to use products table, right? Let's do then home create. Create. You have to go to create and design view, and then we drag the product table to our canvas, expand it as usual. Okay. So this is an interesting thing. So the only what it's asking us to do is to calculate the minimum price, maximum price, and average price, right? Essentially, it's telling us, listen, use the price field, right? And with the price we will have to perform 3 calculations, okay? Minimum, maximum, and average. So I need that field 3 times. Price, price, price. Because so the first one will be the minimum, the second column will be the maximum, and the third will be the average price. You can add the same field as many times as you want. That Access doesn't really care, for as long as it's in your best interest to have different calculations with those columns, right? Otherwise, it will be redundant. Now, first, the first calculation would be the minimum price. Okay, how do we do that? When you start doing calculations, you have to start grouping your data. Okay, so how do you group your data? Under, if you're still in the query design here, there is a group section here. There's a few groups: results, query type, query setup. The show and hide, okay, it is the last group under the query design menu. Okay, what you have to do is to click first the totals from the show and hide group, and note that there will be a couple of changes in the grid. Okay, now you have, once you do that, you see a new row here that goes totals, right? Total, and then the first option, the default, is group by, and that will change in the next few seconds. But let me just turn this off. You can toggle it on and off here, and when you do off here, you don't no longer see the total row. Okay, let me turn it on here. You see the total, you don't see the total. Okay, I'll add it because I need it. But now what I need to do is the first column should be the minimum price, the second the maximum, and the third the average, right? In the totals, in the new total row that we have, you right click on the little arrow that you see. So you just click it, and then you select the min. Okay, for the second, you are going to select the max, and for the price, you should select what is it? The average, right? Okay, so the average is AVG. Okay, so now if we run this query, okay, what you have is here is exactly that. So the minimum price, which in my case is 0, the maximum price, which is 12,000, and the average price of all the products in the products table, right? So now, but there's a few things we have to do before we get here, right? So we go back to design view, right? We're here now. The query, this step is asking, clearly it's asking us to name these fields, the output fields, in specific ways, right? So first, we have the first column needs to be named minimum price. How do we do that? What we do is we place our cursor on the first before the word price, and then we key in the value. So minimum price. Okay, and then add the column key, and then you do enter. And I made a mistake because I did that, right? What will happen here is that the minimum value now will be the field here in the output file, and you'll see it in a second, will be labeled as minimum price as opposed to the default name. Okay, and let's see if that's true. So let's just go run this query, and now you have minimum PR. You cannot see all of it because of it's hidden because of the size of the column, right? Now we have this minimum. This is the column. This is the column name, right? But note that max of price is still the same because we didn't change the name, right? Let's go back and change those names now. Design view, and then I'm coming here. I'll say maximum price, and add the column. If you don't add the column, it will not work. the colon is the separation between the field name and the calculations that it uses for the field that it's being used for the calculation. And the last one is average price. So average price. Colon again. Okay, now let's pause here. Now we have to also set the caption property for each field to include a space between the two words. Okay, how do we do that? So we have to select first the minimum price. Okay, and in the property sheet, if you don't have it again, just right click here somewhere in the canvas and then do properties, and then you should have it here. You have to select a minimum price column, and in the caption you're going to say minimum space price, because of that's exactly what it's asking us to do, right? So we need two words in the caption, right? Now for the maximum price, which I made a mistake again, maximum price, we need in the caption for the maximum price, right? We need maximum price, right? Maximum space price. Okay, and the same for average, right? In the caption for you do average price, right? And then we have now that in the caption, when we see the output, you'll see that the heading of the column will be will say minimum space price, maximum space price, and average space price. Okay, and let's run this. Now, if we expand this a little bit so you can see that the full value of the name, that's exactly what you have, right? Minimum price, maximum price, which is a typo, but who cares, and average price, right? So now, and that is it for step number 12, right? But we have to save this query as price statistics. And how do I do that? Just try to close this, and then when it comes to save it, you'll key in the value price statistics. Okay, and there you go, you have the price statistics here. Okay, now let's do step number 13 in the navigation pane. Let me just save this first. Okay, now we're in step 13. Okay, in the navigation pane, copy the price statistics query and then rename the copied query as price statistics by supplier. Okay, so we just created a query. If you're not there, just click on price statistics, right click, okay, copy, and then right click somewhere in this area, and then do either right click and then paste it, okay, and then it will create a new file, a new query, right? But you have to key in the number. In this case, on step 13, the name, sorry, is price statistics by supplier, right? Okay, supplier. Okay, now we have one new query called price statistics by supplier, right? Now step 14 goes modify the price statistics by supplier query so that the records are grouped by the company field in the supplier table. How do we do that? We have to open this in the design view. Okay, right click. Now what we have to do is to group this by the company field. Okay, but the problem is we don't have company field here, right? The company field is in the supplier table. Okay, do we have company here? No, we don't. So then I'll just drag the supplier table, right? But what we have to do here is that now we have to group this by company name. Okay, and all you have to do is just to drop this, and as we saw before, if we have these totals options toggled on, you should see this group by here, this total row here, right? Just leave it how it is, and what it will do here now, it'll calculate as the minimum price, maximum price, and average price for all the products, but based on the company that supplies us those products, right? And once you do that, is there something else we have to do? The company field should appear in the query datasheet, and we have that here, right? Save and run a query, and then close it, and then else run it. And there you go. You have the company name and each of the statistics related to the products they supply. For instance, ABC provides a number of products. The minimum price for whatever products in their catalog is $150. The maximum is $875, and the average is $512.5. Right? That is what we have here. Fairly useful when you're dealing with lots of products. It can help you understand your database. Now, just save this. Do you want to save the changes? Yes. And step 15, you have to go to database tools, the compact and repair the database. It takes a few seconds. Just did it. That sounds like it didn't do anything, right? But it does something here. You see, it's flickering. It's flickering the screen on the bottom side of on the bottom right side of my screen. You'll see. Pay attention to this area here. I'll do it again. Okay. It did something, right? So what it's really and truly doing is trying to optimize the data set, the database, because of usually when you have large tables, there's a number of elements that don't get deleted, and that when you compact and repair the database, cleans up your database a little bit. Okay. And at this point, I think we're done. So just save your file as with the file that is provided to you, file name that is provided to you in the assignment, and you guys should be done. Okay, thank you.